Good evening to everyone present and those of you that are joining us on Zoom.
I'm going to call the meeting to order. Shay, can we get a roll call vote?
Dr. Beckwood,
Here, present.
Mr. Jones,
Here.
Ms. Morrell,
Yes, here.
Ms. Oswald, and Dr. Avant Elliott.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. Second on our agenda, I'm going to request an approval of the agenda.
So move. Second.
Do I need to do a roll call vote? Thank you. We will now,
We didn't vote on that.
do we need to vote on that? All in favor? Thank you, Dr. Beckwith.
Aye.
Thank you. We will now move to Riverview Excellence. I don't know if you heard me.
All right, thank you. Sorry, let me get this up here really quickly. And good evening to the Special Administrative Board members, Superintendent, colleagues, and community. Today for Riverview Excellence, we are going to recognize Kyrie Hayes, an 8th grade student at Central Middle School, Ambrielle Willis, an 8th grade student at Central Middle School, and Principal Travis Ford Sr. and the Highland Elementary School staff. For justification, have some feedback. My apologies, let me mute that. All right. So for Kyrie Hayes and Ambrielle Willis, they were named the first and second place awardees respectively in an essay contest held by the Alpha Zeta chapter of Iota Phi Lambda Sorority Incorporated. The essay question asked, how does social media affect teens? Hayes and Willis were honored at the sorority's Apple for the Teacher Awards luncheon on November 20th. And that was a great event to go to. Also, we've previously recognized the teachers who won that award, and that was Pamela Fountain and Stacy Miller of Riverview Gardens High School and Central Middle School, respectively. Also, for Travis Ford Sr. and the team at Highland Elementary, they celebrated a ribbon cutting on Thursday, November 18, to celebrate the grand opening of the Highland Family Food Market. The ceremony featured local elected officials, school officials, community partners, and local media in attendance. The market is a joint effort between Highland Elementary and the district, St. Louis Area Food Bank, and Little Bit Foundation. And so the Highland Food Market provides a healthy choice of fresh produce, dairy products, shelf-stable, and frozen foods. And it's open to families serving who go to Highland Elementary and Glasgow Elementary. And those families can get free food every Thursday morning by appointment only. So I want to recognize those students for those achievements, and also Highland Elementary for the Highland Food Market. And
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Mr. System. Did any board members, before I make my comments, did any board member want to make a comment regarding this information? I know of two families. First of all, I'm so happy that we have the open market at Highland, and I know of two families that were really in need of that. So it's timely. And I also want to congratulate the students. I would love to be able to see those essays if it's possible. Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll work on, see if we can get a copy and forward that to the SAB.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm opening the floor for announcements. If anyone has any announcements. No announcements, then we will continue. Ms. Fields, are there any patrons that would like to speak before the board today?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. We'll continue on. We will now have our superintendent's report.
Thank you. First of all, let me thank everybody present to be here. I have thoroughly enjoyed my 7 days. I wanted to just share just a couple of things.
Is your mic on?
You're mute.
No, it's not.
You're mute.
Oh,
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I want to just say I'm glad to be here. It's been a fast but amazing 7 days. During my 7 days, I had the opportunity of visiting all of our buildings. And my plan, except for Glasgow and the alternative school, so my plan is to visit them in the next week or so. Visiting the schools gave me the opportunity of seeing the principals and our scholars in their environment and allowing me to see how the principals interacted with their staff as well as with their scholars, and seeing the teaching and learning opportunities, scholar interactions, cleanliness of our facilities, and just the culture of the building. And so I've seen some great work and I've seen some wonderful scholars. I also had the opportunity to attend the Iota Phi Lambda luncheon as well, to see our teachers being recognized and our students. We had recently had an Ed Plus superintendent meeting. And in that meeting, we talked about the legislative platform for the 22 school year. And that discussion focused on wellness. In fact, we're going to send some nurses to see and read some presentation on wellness and get some health resources, accountability and innovation, local control, and how do we move forward with getting funding for Missouri Public Schools. I also wanted to tell the board that I'm sure you've heard by now that the Cole County decision regarding the mandates for masks in businesses and social distancing, it appears as though Judge Green from Cole County also inserted language regarding schools. So we've had 2 superintendent meetings regarding that language, some follow-up with council as well. Today, it was acknowledged that Sam Page from St. Louis County has indicated that right now nothing is going to change. But as we hear more information, it is our plan after tomorrow's superintendent's meeting for a collective correspondence to go out to our communities and our schools so that we will know where we are. Once we know more, we'll update the board on that. I also had the opportunity yesterday to visit the principals meeting. The meeting was around restorative justice practices and to hear the passion and commitment that our building leaders shared about really wanting to do something, not so much as an on-site restorative justice process, but something that could be systemic across our district, was enlightening. And last but not least, tomorrow, the State Department will release the 2020-2021 MAP results. They're not using the MAP results to determine the district's accreditation at this time, but they will release that report card. We found out yesterday. I have not had the opportunity at this point to look at the MAP data, but I will review it along with the team, and we will make a very public presentation in the very near future. That concludes my report.
Thank you so much. We will now move to item 7, which is item for information. And first on this list is the travel report.
Yes, good evening to the Special Administrative Board, to Dr. Pruitt Adams, stakeholders, and colleagues. Tonight, I'm presenting the travel report. This is an informational item. The travel report is dated and titled for November of 2021. It contains all out-of-area travel that has been approved by my office and certainly the office of the superintendent. As requested, the travel report provides information in the following areas. It includes the person, the employee requesting permission to travel, the school or department of the employee, the name of the conference or activity attended, inclusive days of the conference and activity, city and state of the activity, and projected costs of the activity. On the final page, it's a 2-page document, and so on the final page, you will see a legend that gives an explanation to some of the titles that's contained in the report. This concludes the information provided for travel, out-of-area travel. I will take any questions that you have at this time.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Sharp at this time? You're muted. Mm. Mhm.
So this conference is scheduled.
Could you hear me?
Yes,
No.
your question was, since she is going to start in January as the building leader, is this conference still applicable for her? I would have to look into that. I am not sure what will be covered at the conference at this time and whether or not her registration has been paid.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? We would then move on, and I believe that this is Ms. Sharp as well, to the new teacher introduction and induction and mentoring program evaluation.
Yes, again, thank you for this opportunity. Shay, I will only speak from the PowerPoint. This presentation, again, is provided for informational purposes. It is intended to cover the evaluation of the program for new teachers and the induction process. So I'll speak first to changes that have been made from the last presentation. While you have a lot of information that's contained here, there are just a few items that I really want to elaborate on. Number one is the accountability measures. I have worked with the PDC, and we have noted, especially in light of COVID-19, we've had some teachers that have been in and out for a variety of different reasons. So what we have created, what is a 2-part accountability document, and that provides opportunities to have feedback from the principal, the PDC representative from the building, and also an opportunity for the mentor to check that documentation. At this time, we intend to engage in this process 2 times each year, one beginning in January and then in late March or early April. So that's one piece I'd like to share with you. The other piece that I'd share with you is the increased virtual opportunities for collaboration. I'm still on the first screen. Thank you. So increasing opportunities for virtual collaboration. As you know, last year was a very unique year, and we spent an enormous amount of time engaged in Zoom or Google, electronic forms, if you will. We incorporated use of Google Docs, we used Jamboard, and we also created a virtual observation tool because it was difficult for several of the staff to go into classrooms to observe based upon COVID-19. So those are some items that we have made some changes with. The other thing that I will share with you is that last year, our first year teachers missed the opportunity to engage in student teaching. And so because they missed that opportunity as a result of COVID-19, we encountered some situations and some support. And I'll speak more specifically to the support. Support came in the form of the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. They provided what's called a community of practice. that provided opportunities for mentors as well as new teachers to engage in after-hour professional development, support in a variety of different areas with the main emphasis on self-reflection. But they did cover a variety of areas. In addition to that, on a district level, over 10 virtual sessions were offered for new teachers. Those sessions were 1.5 hours in length, and they occurred after school hours, again, attempting to provide additional supports in areas that are prescribed by the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. So we'll move to the next screen now. So I provided the list of goals and objectives, and embedded in everything that you see here, our main thrust, our main focus really has been to take all of that and to work on increasing teacher retention, especially for our beginning teachers. And so that has been the primary focus in this area. We'll go to the next screen. So in looking at the tools and the criteria, we have worked on using a variety of different tools and different resources. And all of this information is listed here. But based upon this structure of this format and the change from last year, we really decided to focus on doing the survey. And so on the next screen, you'll see the results of the survey that we used. So we'll go to the next one, please. So here we began looking at 13 descriptors, if you will. And based upon the 13 descriptors, we used a rating here of the 4 standing for highly effective, going down to 0, which is not applicable. And we felt that we did have a high degree of success with the program, and we focused our success based upon the number 4 and 3 range, but we also looked at number 9 and number 11, noting that we would want to work on opportunities for supports in the area of special needs, and also in terms of tours that appear to be an important component to our new teachers, having tours of the facility. Obviously, we understand we were limited last year because of COVID-19, but those are 2 areas the PDC decided to focus on. Opportunities and next steps. And as I transition to the next page, I want to say that this is the first time we have engaged in this type of analysis. And so this will serve as baseline data. So we hope to indicate some changes in some areas at the next opportunity. So in terms of opportunities and next steps, obviously we have a series of opportunities that focus on collaboration, working to retain teachers, engaging in opportunities for self-reflection. But the biggest area that I see has been over a period of time, just noting some changes in processes and procedures. And so with the last item where I note changes with the beginning teacher assistance program, this program now has made a significant change. And so previously with the BTAP, the beginning teacher assistance program, a teacher would probably take 1 class. That would probably be a 6-hour session, and any additional supports we would provide on district level would help them to meet that criteria. DESE has now made a change, and so the BTAP process has been eliminated. And instead, what they are doing is beginning now with what is called the MTDS, that's a Missouri Teacher Development System. This system requires that teachers attend 5 days out of district with professional development. So it mirrors the Missouri Leadership Development Program. My concern and the concern from the PDC is centered on the number of days that teachers will be out of the building. So right now we have approximately 48 teachers that are participating in the new teacher mentoring program here in the district. And so if we calculate it times 5, that would be an enormous amount of time. So at this point, I am collaborating with DESE and looking at some other options. Obviously, this is something that's important, but I'd like to see what other opportunities are available for our district, just in general. So I share that with you just for general information, knowing that this is one component of the mentoring program that we will not fully implement this year because of the changes from DESE. And so I'll be following up and providing additional information as I secure more information. Finally, in the closing of the presentation, I will tell you that I provided 2 books for you that are there in the boardroom. Both books are currently being utilized in the new teacher induction program. One is entitled The Joyful Teacher, Strategies to Become the Teacher Every Student Deserves. It is a very teacher-friendly tool, very practical, and provides opportunities for teachers to have some immediate feedback and strategies. And so that is a new tool that we will utilize. And then finally, the Teach Like a Champion is one that's DESE approved, and it provides educators with some techniques, shared vocabulary, and a framework for professional practice. And so I wanted you to have an opportunity to look at those 2 tools, just to know that those are professional resources that are being utilized within the district. I serve as the facilitator of learning with those 2 tools, and I meet with teachers. That information is contained in the handbook that I provided as well, that gives you an idea of what types of training and structures that are occurring within the district. So I will entertain any questions that you have at this time.
Are there any questions, Dr.?
Hello, Ms. Sharp. How are you?
I'm excellent. Thank you.
Good. I was just curious, did we get teachers from, a lot of teachers from Harris Stowe? New teachers?
I am not certain of that information, but I can do some investigation to determine. I can do some investigation on that question.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Beckwith?
Yes, Ms. Sharp,
Yes.
in reviewing the ratings that I'm getting an echo. In reviewing the ratings that mentees made, I didn't see a key that allowed me to know what 4 really meant and what 1 meant or what 0 meant. Did I miss that?
It's not contained in the presentation, but I'll be happy to share with you the key, with 4 being highly effective, 3 effective, 2 satisfactory, 1 ineffective, and then 0 it did not apply.
Okay, and my point is, I think that's important to have as a part of your report so that when we read it before the board meeting, at least I'm better understanding what those numbers meant. So if we could just have a legend or a key in the future for that.
Will do. Thank you very much.
Are there any additional questions? Ms. Sharp, I wanted to ask one question, and that was one of the questions that I wanted to ask about the rating. But the other question that I wanted to ask is, I know that you said that you're going to try to come up with some options or different options with regards to the number of teachers that would need to be out for the 5 consecutive days or what have you. Along with that, we would need to see some type of budget impact for those days that they are out, if there is no other option that you will come up with. So could you also provide us that information as well?
I certainly will. As I stated earlier, this is really a new process, and so I am still learning. I have made contact with several individuals, but I'm part of the Professional Learning Network, and so we meet monthly, and I will be able to secure some additional information. And as I secure that information, I certainly will make that information available.
Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome.
We will now move to prop or update.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt Adams, colleagues and community. Each second board meeting of the month, I provide an update of our Proposition R. So if we go to the next slide, please. So I'll start off with the completed projects that we've done thus far. We've done some replaced rooftop units at Highland. We did some flooring abatement and replacement at Danforth Elementary. We renovated the high school choir room. That included abatement and new storage cabinet. Next slide, please. Also completed projects, we've done parking lots at the high school, both middle schools. We've upgraded our phone system throughout the district. We had a water line repair at Danforth. Next slide. We've completed some fire alarm upgrades in our phase 1. We've completed district-wide wireless upgrades. We replaced 2 rooftop at the high school at Building 2, 1 at Building 9. We've did some facility dock upgrades. Next slide, please. We also did some rooftop unit replacements at several schools. We've done new playgrounds at all of our elementary schools, Danforth parking lots, some more parking lots in central office. We did some electrical upgrades. Okay. And we also have done some district-wide building access. Those are the front door intercom systems at the schools. Westview, we did some emergency repairs in the library and on the first floor. Interactive board for technology, and we also did some rooftop units in our phase 2. Next slide. So now we have 5 current active projects. The first one is we're doing HVAC controls at all of our schools. Well, not at all of our schools, but half of the district. We're about 95% complete. That budget was $759,769. Next slide. Our next active project is our school-based health center. It's about 25% complete. Board approved budget was $468,968. Next slide. We have new roofs going on at LeMasters. We're about 95% complete. Board approved of this project was $281,955. Our 100% WBE participation. Next slide, you can stay there. Our next roof repair is Central Middle Schools. We're about 95% complete. That approved budget was $444,752. Next slide. And we're also in the process of doing our district-wide security camera upgrade. We're about 40% complete. That approved budget was $265,091. It's 100% MBE company. Right now, we'll stay right there. You can stay right there. So this slide here represent all the categories that when we asked the voters to vote for Proposition R, it shows all the things that we said we would do. The green shows all the items that we have completed. The yellow shows upcoming, and the orange color is completed projects as well. Next slide. Our summary today, the board has approved 29 projects. 24 of those are complete. We have 5 ongoing projects. Our total for minority business enterprises is 34%. Our women business enterprise to date is 8%. That completes my conclusion. That's this conclusion of this. Are there any questions?
Dr. Beckwith?
Yes, Ms. Green,
Yes, sir.
I think in the most recent board newsletter, there was one department in the central office that mentioned that in the schools, you have to announce yourself from the outside before being buzzed in. But at the central office, there's no such mechanism. And you just buzz and then you're let in. Is there any thought of providing the same kind of mechanism at the central office that are in schools?
Yes, sir. I'm happy to share this information with you. As of today, I had someone from our alarm company there at central office that's beginning to install the same type of system where you have to be buzzed in. You have to announce yourself and tell what you're there for in order to be buzzed in. So yes, sir, that is happening right now.
That's great. Thank you.
Any additional?
Yeah, real quick, just for clarification, on the slide that mentioned all new playgrounds at elementary schools, I did not see LeMaster's listed. Do they have a new program at LeMaster's?
Okay, I misspoke. Not well. All of our elementary schools do have new playgrounds, but only these schools that are listed here were done through Prop R. Prior to Prop R being passed, I had some money in the facilities budget as well as replacing a playground that was burned at Moline. So those schools that you do not see listed do have new playgrounds. It just wasn't funded through Proposition R.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? I was noticing that LeMaster's, what I wanted to ask, the question I wanted to ask was, is the same company that's doing the roofing repairs at LeMaster, are those the same, is that the same company that's doing the roofing repairs at the other buildings that you mentioned?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
There's two different companies.
Okay, because I noticed that they've been working on the roof of LeMaster's for a while, and I was just wondering what caused that. It seemed like they've been working on it for a good little while, but I did hear you say, I thought that it was 95% complete.
Yes, ma'am. So what happened, and both Central and LeMaster's, the roof was kind of delayed due to supplies being received. As everything going on now, so it's hard to get supplies. People are still waiting on receiving hardware or materials. So that's why we haven't closed those projects out.
Thank you. We will now move to items for discussion. I'm sorry. Does somebody else have a question? Oh,
okay.
I'm sorry, the budget component. I'm sorry, Yvonne.
I'm sorry.
Mhm.
So here you see our budget that starts off with 8.9 million. And so if you look straight across, we have remaining about $257,000. And then you have a negative balance of $1.5 million. And that is due to some of the items that were not originally put in our budget. Like we had some emergency repairs, one at Danforth, one at Westview. And if you kind of go down the list, you'll see that in the beginning, roofing was not, there was no budget put in roofing. So we have done some projects. So that's why you see that negative balance. But if you go all the way down to the subtotal soft cost, you can see a $1.7 million. So if you take the two, the 1.17, 1.9, it gives you a balance of approximately $257,000. Are there any questions about the budget?
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now move to items for discussion. First on the list is Destiny Manager Renewal.
Good evening. Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt Adams, the school community. Tonight, I'm here to to request a renewal for the Destiny Manager operating system, which is used to manage our library resources, in addition to keep track of inventory. There are a couple other features that are housed in Destiny Manager, such as Title Peak. One of the unique things about Title Peak is that it offers brief summaries, annotations, author's notes, just to name a few, to pique our students' interest and help them with their selection of books. Another feature of Destiny Manager also includes our book rooms, which are located in our elementary schools. It provides an inventory of nonfiction and fictional books, and it helps teachers with differentiated instruction to meet our scholars' needs. The justification, the Destiny Manager system overall main job is to promote literacy for all of our scholars and the school community, as well as improve instructional practices by providing resources for our teachers. It is aligned to our CSIP goal. We have no changes in the CSIP goal. I'm not going to necessarily read it, but everything is tied to improving our MPI data. The budget impact, it is budgeted. The total dollar amount includes $22,673. You have the exact amount. The budget source, this expense is shared with the MIS department. The MIS department is responsible for $18,813, and the CNI department is responsible for $3,859 of the total expense. It is recommended that the board approves the renewal of the library and Destiny Manager systems with the cost not to exceed the total of $22,673. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions at this time, Dr.?
Yes, I have a question. Was there an RFP for this? I'm just wondering if they are the only type of business that offer those services. So was an RFP put out for this, or we just renewing them as the single source? Like, I'm just trying to get clarification.
No, there was not an RFP put out for this. This is a renewal. We have been using the Destiny Manager system, I mean, since I've been in the district, and probably even longer. Are you making a request that we do, or?
Well, I didn't look at the policy related to it, but I was just asking to make sure that we are getting the best option, a most affordable option, along with a quality service related to that.
Well, being that it's the operational system and the majority of the cost comes through infrastructure, I don't know if Tina's on tonight or if anybody could respond to that as well.
If no one is available to respond tonight to Board Member Avant Elliott's question, we can also get that information and get it back to her.
Thank you.
Question that I have has to do with data to show the successes. I understand everything that you have on here, but is there any type of data that we could review to show the success of how this is being used by the teachers? It says on here that it improves instructional practices by providing resources to our teachers. Is there do you have anything to support that's a true statement, that we can get a?
I do not have that available for you tonight. However, we do have a program evaluation in April, and I can definitely make sure that data is included in that program evaluation.
I like to see it before April, but thank you.
Understood, and I will get that information to you.
All right, thank you. The next item is the special school district agreement to renew partner district, reimburse, I'm sorry, partner districts.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt-Adams, colleagues and community. Tonight, I will review the agreement to reimburse partner districts for the early childhood special education costs. This is an annual agreement between Riverview Garden School District and the special school district that the SAB approves, and the services are outlined in Exhibit A. So basically, SSD reimburses the school district for a portion of the following costs: utilities, since they use our space; also custodial costs, nursing cost and benefits, as well as supplies, copier cost. This is an annual agreement, again, totaling $82,650. And it is recommended that the Special Administrative Board approve this agreement. Are there any questions for me at this time?
Are there any questions? Thank you. We will now move for the summary of the fund balance report for the month that ended in October 31st.
Good evening again, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt-Adams, colleagues and community. Tonight, I will present the financial report, which is the summary of fund balance report for the 4 months ending October 31st, 2021. These are the first 4 months of the new fiscal year that we're in, FY 21-22. And so on the very first page, we see our funds. We have 5: the general fund, the teachers fund, debt service, capital projects, and food services funds. We see across to the right, the beginning fund balances in each of those funds, as well as what we've collected year to date. So since July, what monies or revenues have we collected? What expenditures are there? The third column over talks about the monies that we've spent in each of those funds, as well as what the ending fund balances are at this time. Of course, we notice it's very obvious that capital projects has a slight negative balance, but I will remind the SAB that they have approved us to do a transfer at the end of the year. So even though we see a negative fund balance here, we do not expect to end the fiscal year on a negative note. So I just wanted to make sure that I pointed that out in case there were questions regarding the negative fund balance. Page 2, please. The second page deals with the grant expenditures, and these are only expenditures related to the grants that we receive. So we've got our Title I, we've got, of course, our SIG grant, which is no more. We've got a Title IV focus. And then we see our CARES Act monies that we're keeping track of as well. So we're looking at the revised budgets, which are our current budgets that we operate from. Under the encumbrance column, those are obligations that are pending that have not yet been paid. Under the actual column, we see the expenses that have happened in each of these categories. And then the last column talks about what is available in terms of monies left or available to be spent. Next page, please. On the next page, you will see the revenues for each of these corresponding grants that we talked about. And so we can see that we currently are operating with roughly $21 million worth of budgeted revenues. To date, we've receipted about $2.2 million of those. And then our outstanding collections are the difference. Again, the first few months of the fiscal year, we really are going to encourage our principals and our teachers to ramp up spending, especially related to those grant funds, because we certainly want to make sure that we capitalize and spend those monies sooner than later. Next page. This particular page, again, just gives us a different outlook for where we have been, or actually for the first 4 months, and it looks at it by fund. We talked about those funds earlier on the first page and where we are. So our general fund, where our budget is, where our actual expenditures are, and then what we have in outstanding collections. So this information really corresponds to the data or the information that you saw on the very first page. Next page deals with the expenditures for the same reporting period. Again, October 31st, we're looking to see what we have spent versus the revenues that have come in. And so at this particular point, we should be okay in terms of our revenues and expenditures. Next page. This is the page looking at historical revenues. So for the 4 months ending October 31st, for the last 3 fiscal years, where are we comparably? Okay. So in 2019, for instance, in the general fund, this time of the year, we were at about $6.2 million. In 2020, we were at about $6.7 million. And right now we're about $4.8 million. And you can see the categories to which we're down in. And so that's under the local section here, the revenues. So we know right about this time of year, starting in December, it's time to start receiving those property tax revenues. And so we're certainly hoping that over the next month or two, you will certainly see improvements in those numbers as well. Next page looks at the expenditures for the same time frame. And again, we're looking for the consistency, the trends. So if we start with the latter year, 2019, we see $7.2 million that were spent around this time of the year. In 2020, $7.1 million spent around this time of the year. And then in 2021, about $7.9 million. And so once again, we see that salaries generally are running a little bit above average for this October. And that's because of the raise and the increase that we gave our staff. So the next page. And actually, that is the final page. Yes, okay, I apologize.
Okay.
So are there any questions for me at this time?
Dr. Beckwith.
Dr. Singleton,
Yes, sir.
you must have known I was going to ask you about that deficit in the capital projects of $241,738. You called that a small amount. I differ with you on that. Why is that a small amount?
Well, Dr. Beckwith, the typical expenditures, capital expenditures can total, anywhere between $2.5 to $3 million a year, depending on, what purchases. We're purchasing a lot of computers. We're doing a lot of things that cost more than $1,000. And so, right now at $240, it's much smaller than where it is going to end up. We're going to end up spending, $2-3 million in that fund. So I do understand, and I don't want to give it a misnomer as though it's not important. It's extremely important, but I also want to share that the SAB has approved that fund balance transfer to wipe that deficit out at the end of the school year.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Singleton, I was just looking at the areas where we have receipts, but it wasn't budgeted, like the seed cadre and the fresh fruit and vegetable program. Could you just expound on those categories where is receipts, but it's not budgeted and it's not under the revised budget?
Sure. If you can share, are you able to pull that back up so we all can look at that on page 3? I think it's page 3 of the presentation. So Dr. Yvonne Elliott, on page 3, you see here under grant revenues. Now keep in mind, these revenues only cover the time from July 1st up until October the 31st. And our SIG grant ran out at the end of June, okay? And so in this particular instance, what you see are some possible receipts that were not budgeted. We don't have any SIG revenues budgeted for the current fiscal year. because the SIG grant is no more, okay? But we did get some receipts in, and so we're showing those receipts. So that's why you see that there's no budget for them, but you see that there are actual receipts that have come in. Same thing with the fresh fruit and vegetable program. This was not a program that we knew that we were going to anticipate or receive, and therefore there was no budget put together. I believe that our food service director wrote some of these grants here within the last couple of months and applied for these. And so when we adopted our formal budget, this was also not a part of or did not have a budget line item because it was not anticipated at that time. So since the fiscal year has begun, these two programs, we have received some revenues for it. And that's why you see that there's no budget, no formal budget. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, and I don't know if you could answer or if it's HR. Has any of the CARES Act monies been used for teacher incentives?
Well, we do have a recommendation that's coming forward. I don't want to get too much ahead of myself, but we have reached out and gotten feedback from our teachers union. And so we are hoping to make a recommendation very soon to the SAB about some type of incentive for all district staff. And this incentive would include the benefit of using CARES Act funds or ESSER funds, if you will.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any additional questions? Okay. I'd like a motion then to approve the items that are identified on the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
Do a roll call vote on that? We don't need to do a roll call vote? We don't, okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Did I hear everybody? I didn't hear some people. Okay, it's kind of hard to hear with this one. Okay,
Aye.
thank you. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to find on here, okay. With all of the business being completed this evening, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Do I need to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, help me out, John. Thank you. We are adjourned.
Okay.